Here are the top 5 app design trends of 2025. Our first design trend is emotionally intelligent design. And it's not a UI trend, it's something to do more with UX, because it's the use of color, characters, or other means to produce an emotional response that keeps people using the application. Such characters bring familiarity to an app or a website you're using. These kinds of emotions can then resonate with someone, wanting them to come back and view them again, or even share them with their friends because they're so cute and fun. And there's no better example of this than Duolingo. It's an app for learning languages, and they get people to keep coming back to it because of this character called Duo. You see him when you start the application, as you progress through different levels, and even when you perform really well, kind of cheering you on. The design of this character in the app keeps you coming back because you don't want to let down your digital friend. And the design of the widget is another example of this, because if you forget or stop using the app, Duo goes through a number of emotions, from being distressed to angry to being worried, and then finally freezing into obscurity. And I can see emotionally intelligent design being integrated with characters a lot more in the future, especially with AI being such a new and upcoming technology, where characters can actually become real personas that you might create and form bonds with. The next trend is Chatbot Design, and it's a design trend that's been brought about due to the fact that there's been a rise in AI models which you can chat with day to day. Everyone's trying to look at unique ways that they can make their app stand out. In these types of designs, we look at different ways that we can interact with the text inputs and upload photos. Also, the way that AI messages are displayed as they come and stream through to the user's device. Things like, do they fade in? How do we attach and amend additional messages? And how does a loading bar look like? All of these are design considerations when looking at chatbot design. And let's take a look at some of the popular apps currently on the marketplace. First up is Perplexity. While at first glance it looks very similar to ChatGPT, it looks different visually when you're searching for different things. Information is laid out with sources and answer as well as related topics, so it feels more like you're searching on Google rather than chatting with an AI. The use of skeletons and placeholders as well as streaming information always feels like something's happening on the page. I like how new chats open up in their own little window, as well as small things like these toggles to show you when you're utilizing Pro mode. Quick pause. I just want to take a second to express my excitement for new changes coming to GASP, which falls under the umbrella of Webflow Interactions after it was acquired. GASP uses JavaScript to help you create animations for practically anything you can imagine, with features like timelines and easing, making it super simple to use. Now it's integrated inside of Webflow, which makes it even easier to add these sorts of animations to your next website when you do things like scroll, hover, or just add engagement to your homepage. This creates a beautiful looking motion, which is much smoother than basic CSS, and it can also provide you with timelines to expand the motion possibilities without needing complicated JavaScript code. Here's how you can do it. Simply jump into your Webflow website and then click to enable the GASP toggle. Then head to scripts and write what sort of animation you wish to have. Here's a nice text drop-in effect I added to my own website in just a few seconds. Then I added some stroke animation to my SVG icons. Of course, the ways you can implement this are endless, but here are some examples from Webflow websites. GASP has been paid, but now it's entirely free. So if you want to try it out, check the link in the description below. The next app design trend that I'm a little bit skeptical about is glass design, or Glassmorphism, or if you want to be cool like Apple, liquid glass. In these designs, elements have this glassy look, like you can see a reflection as well as elements underneath them, as well as a little shine on the edges. And these glass reflections have a little bit of blur and shine, and this reflectivity also gives this perspective like the elements are in 3D space. While liquid glass can look really cool, especially for tech demos, when it comes to actually using it for an application, the results may vary. Take a look at this example. Here on gray backgrounds, these menus and elements look great and they're easy to view and have great accessibility. However, when it comes to real-world use, things become a lot more messy. Accessibility and usability is reduced as it's harder to read this type of text in the pursuit of making this element look more beautiful, which is why so many people on Twitter complain, with comparisons like this really showcasing the loss in accessibility by switching over to this new design aesthetic. So while Glassmorphism is cool, it's not a design design trend I'll be implementing in any of my app designs in the future. The next app design trend is illustrations, and it's the use of adding things like characters to add a bit more personality to apps. Originally started on websites, I see a lot more illustrations now on mobile devices. And you can see just how much more vibrant and interesting apps like this can become, especially when you're doing things like education or mental health, and it's closely connected to emotional design, which I see more prevalent these days. And it's no surprise why there's a lot more of this happening, since it's easier than ever to create these sorts of vectors through things like Figma, and then add them into interactive designs through the use of things like Webflow interactions. And my favorite part is usually when these illustrations also have a slight animation to make them seem more alive. Alright, so it's time for our last design trend, and this one is my favorite. It's micro animations. Micro animations can come in all sorts of forms, whether it's just simply clicking on an element and having some animation slide in, or having some subtle effects when you transition from one page to another, or even the way a button is animated when you click on it. The result of good micro animation is an app that feels fluid, making you enjoy each interaction and wanting to continue to stay on it. And these sorts of micro animations are being shared more and more, whether you're on Instagram and you're just getting inspiration, or whether you're on Dribbble or Twitter and you just can't help but appreciate these graphs with these subtle movements that slide in as you view them.